Over 30 still trapped 3 weeks after Niger mining pit collapse. National Assembly approves supplementary budget extension despite rising debt profile. Yahaya Bello seeks transfer of case from Abuja to Kogi as court adjourns arraignment. Low turnout at Nairobi protest over fears of violence. Hello and welcome to Trust News Update. I am Shegun Ojumu. More than 3 weeks after a mining pit collapse at Kogi, Shiroro local government area of Niger State, over 30 miners are still trapped. While government agencies, including the police, claimed that 20 people were trapped and 6 had been rescued, families and locals insisted that 50 individuals were still trapped. They said that the 6 people were not rescued as claimed by government officials but managed to escape before the pit fully caved in. Now, reports said that the recovery effort has resumed but is being done manually. Families of the victims expressed frustration over the slow progress and lack of government's involvement in the rescue efforts. Laborers were working inside the 400-meter deep pit owned by Africa Minerals and Logistics Limited when it caved in on June the 3rd after a heavy rain the previous day. Next now, the Senate has expeditiously passed for second and third readings an executive bill seeking to extend the implementation of the 2023 Appropriations Act as well as the 2023 Supplementary Act to further extend their implementation from June the 30th to December the 30th, 2024. Trust TV Senate correspondent Sagir Ibrahim, who witnessed proceedings at Thursday's plenary, brings us details.
The executive bill sponsored to that effect and read by the leader of the Senate, Okpeyemi Bamidele, seeks to further extend the implementation of the 2023 budget and the 2023 supplementary budget from June 30th to the 31st of December 2024. Senator Bamidele, who read the lead debate, says the amendment seeks to further extend the capital component of the budget while calling for support from his colleagues.
Undoubtedly, this will go a long way to avoid the compounding problems of abandoned projects. Hence, the need for the enactment of these proposed legislations to extend the implementation.
During their contributions, some lawmakers drummed support for the expeditious passage of the bill. However, others raised concerns around the possibility of corruption, especially regarding the recurrent side of the budget.
In passing the budget, put a clause that those to be employed, the projects to be implemented are purely that of capital or maybe selected recurrent, if any. But if we do it blankly, like that, I have reliable information that items that are recurrent in the previous year budget are being implemented because there is a blank check given to them.
I think we should concentrate more on capital. Capital items should be the items that we should concentrate more in extending rather than extending both capital and recurrent.
The budget is not selective. The budget is all encompassing. You have to be one thing because the budget is one. You cannot select some item. Which one are you going to leave? We have approved a budget here, and you cannot go back to select some few items. It's going to be bad for this system.
I think we should resolve to allow this bill to pass appropriately, knowing that the executive should be able to execute the budget and appropriately do so. And they owe Nigerians explanation if we pass the budget and they can't implement. They owe us and Nigerians explanation.
Responding, the Senate President addressed some of the concerns the lawmakers raised, assuring them that Nigeria's anti-corruption agencies are competent enough to identify and prosecute infractions.
The way a seminar had passed, and then because of this extension, somebody decides to appropriate or to take the money for a seminar he did not attend, then it means ICPC will look into it. So don't worry about it. The agents, all the agencies of government have different jobs to do. But I take cognizance of what you have just said, but the other issues of implementation are left to the executive. Then the issue of oversight is left to the legislature. We are going to do the oversight and be sure of what they are doing. And from time to time, we are here. They will bring their reports, and then they will bring their findings, and we'll look into those findings. We can conclude the problems of the future at this stage.
The Senate President, upon a motion moved and seconded, reverted to the Committee on Supply for clause-by-clause consideration, after which both bills were concurrently passed for second and third readings upon suspension of Section 78 Sub 1 of the Senate Rulebook. Recall that in March 2024, President Bola Tinubu had also requested the National Assembly to extend implementation of the 2023 Appropriations Act and the 2023 Supplementary Appropriations Act to June 2024 for similar reasons. From the Red Chamber of the National Assembly, Sagir Ibrahim, Trust TV News, Abuja.
Meanwhile, the House of Representatives has approved President Tinubu's request to extend the implementation of the capital aspect of the 2023 budget to the 31st of December 2024. The House also passed another executive bill to extend the 2023 supplementary budget to the 31st of December 2023. The report.
A few minutes after the commencement of plenary on Tuesday and the introduction of the two bills by the House leader, Julius Ihombere, the House dissolved into an executive session to deliberate on the request from the President to extend the lifespan of the capital component of the 2023 budget and the 2023 supplementary budget to 31st December 2024. The passage of the two bills will be the third time the lifespan of the capital component of the budget and the supplementary budget will be extended. It was first extended to March 31st, 2024, and later shifted to June 30th, 2024. Leading the debate on the two bills, Ihombere described them as straightforward and aimed at ensuring the completion of all ongoing capital projects captured in the two documents.
This is a fairly straightforward request, which entails not altering the content of the budget, but essentially the dates to allow for effective implementation to the benefit of Nigeria and all Nigerians. That essentially the dates be adjusted from 30th June 2024 to 31st December 2024.
The minority leader of the House, Kingsley Chinda, had argued that while it is legally okay to extend the capital component of the budget, it is morally wrong to have about 4 budgets running simultaneously.
We will not just criticize, but profile an alternative, sir. And therefore, I will suggest that the House leader steps down this bill, and then we go back to the drawing board. Look at it, all the projects that are contained in 2023 budget and 2023 supplementary budget, we take them over to the 2024 supplementary budget so that we can have just 2 budgets running in the country.
Also, the former leader of the House, Alhassan Ado Dogowa, said while the House approves the President's request and extends the lifespan of the budget, there is the need for the House to pass a message to the Presidency on why they should put their acts together.
You have 2 substantive budgets, 2023 being extended to 31st of December and running them concurrently. You have other supplementary budgets being carried also at the same time, Mr. Speaker. I want to say without any fear of contradiction that they may be legal, but that moral feeling, that moral responsibility, Mr. Speaker, that moral questions will always be raised.
After the executive session, the Speaker, Abbas Tajuddin, appealed to members to approve the passage of the extension of the capital component to allow for procurement of items contained in it, which he said are more security related.
The House and Committee of Supply considered the report on the bill from Act to amend the Appropriation Act 2023 to further extend the implementation of the capital aspect of the Appropriation Act 2023 from 30 June 2024 to 31st December 2024 and for related matters. And in so doing, we have approved clauses 1 and 2,
Clause 3 as amended, explanatory memorandum, and the long title of the bill.
Lawmakers expeditiously approved the executive bills to enable the federal government to complete critical projects after consideration of the bills at the Committee on Supply, chaired by Speaker Abbas Tajuddin.
Away from the National Assembly, the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, has predicted high and moderate floodings in some parts of Kwara State. To this end, it is asking residents of identified flood-prone areas to relocate to avoid casualties. The report.
The Nigerian Hydrological Service Agency's 2024 annual flood outlook indicates that 31 state and 148 local government areas have been predicted to be with high flood risk areas. Patigi, Edu, Kayama, Asa and Baruten local government areas of Kwara State are among the high and moderate risk areas. The need to put the leaders of these areas on high alert necessitated this meeting conveyed by the National Emergency Management Agency. The director of the agency, Zubaida Umar, says the early warning signs should not be taken lightly. Represented by the Director, Disaster Risk Reduction, Daniel Obot, the NEMA DG wants the states to take proactive measures against floods.
NISA has specifically stated in this year's 24 annual flood outlook that 31 states with 148 local government areas have been predicted to be within the high flood risk areas, while 35 states, including Federal Capital Territory, with 249 local government areas, are considered to fall within the moderate flood risk areas in our country.
The Kwara State government is making a strong case for frequent dredging of the River Niger, building of more buffers and afforestation to stem the dangers of flooding in communities.
Why are you dredging? What are you dredging? You are dredging the sediment, seas. It's seated up. It's like it's blocking the bed of the river. So when you have these materials at the bed of the river, they contain less water. So the moment they have little water coming up, it will overflow because the volume of the river has been greatly reduced.
Representatives of the flood-prone communities equally appeal for early relocation of people and subsequently permanent solution to the menace.
They should try to make a provision of adequate fund for the local government areas so that they will be able to cater for their peoples when the need arises. With the immediate community in Jeba, it is annually that we always witness such incidents. And we have been appealing to the appropriate bodies that all those in riverine area, they should try to relocate them.
Relocation of our prone communities. When you come to Patigi local government, going to the prone areas, you can have about close to more than 50 communities across the 3 districts of Patigi local government, Lade, Patigi, Bada districts, that are vulnerable communities that with little flood, the whole community is covered.
The meeting underscores the need for effective early action to save lives and also secure residents' means of livelihood during this rainy season.
The immediate past governor of Kogi State, Yahaya Bello, has asked the Chief Judge of the Federal High Court, Abuja, Justice John Oho, to transfer his trial in alleged money laundering to Lokoja. Mr. Bello said that he preferred to be arraigned in Lokoja, being the place the alleged money laundering offense was committed. At a resumed hearing on Thursday, Mr. Bello, represented by his counsel, Adeola Adedipe, SAN, informed Justice Emeka Nwite that a letter requesting for the transfer of the trial had already been delivered to the Chief Judge for his administrative decision. Adedipe said the legal team of the former governor was still awaiting the response of the chief judge on the request for transfer of the case to Lokoja. However, the request for transfer was vehemently opposed by the EFCC lead counsel, Kemi Pinheiro, who described the request as an attempt to frustrate the trial. Meanwhile, the court has fixed July the 17th for arraignment of the former governor and ruling on the request of EFCC to cite the senior lawyers for contempt. The EFCC is seeking to arraign Bello on 19 counts bordering on alleged money laundering, breach of trust, and misappropriation of funds to the tune of 80.2 billion naira. Vice President Kashim Shettima is presiding over the 142nd National Economic Council meeting at State House, Abuja. Some members of President Bola Tinubu's economic team are also attending the meeting on Wednesday. The President's Chief of Staff, Femi Gbajabiamila, said Tinubu will discuss the new national minimum wage with state governors at the meeting. Mr. Gbajabiamila disclosed this when he spoke in Kano while leading a high-power delegation to commiserate with Mr. Shettima over the demise of his mother-in-law. The meeting comes days after the Federal Executive Council on Tuesday stepped down the report of the tripartite committee on the new national minimum wage, citing the need for President Tinubu to further consult with stakeholders on the matter. They comprise state governors, local government authorities, and the private sector. Among those present, Governors Usman Ododo Kogi, Ubasani Kaduna, Lawal Dauda Zamfara, Charles Soludo Anambra, Sheyi Makinde Oyo, Lucky Ayedatiwa Ondo, Lagos, Rivers, Borno, Adamawa, and Yobe states were represented or are represented by their deputy governors. The Academic Union of Universities, ASU, has once again appealed to the federal government to implement agreements reached with the union to avert another strike. At separate press conferences, the University of Ilorin and the Kwara State University called for funding of existing universities instead of establishing new ones that cannot be catered for. The report.
Since 2019, when both the federal government and members of the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU, entered and signed various agreements on the welfare and need to improve infrastructures across the universities, several strikes have been embarked upon following government's inability to implement the agreements. Addressing journalists, the University of Ilorin branch of ASU listed several of their requests that are yet to be met.
Few of our issues with the government are here again brought to the attention of the public. Number one, federal government ASU renegotiation of 2009 agreement. It is no longer a secret that our negotiated take-home pay since 2009 has not changed 15 years ago. The government, instead of committing itself to negotiated welfare package, including our take-home, revitalization of our institutions and proper funding, in addition to stoppage of proliferations of institutions without structure to support such, has conscientiously maintained lines of frustration, blackmail, and use of hunger as a weapon to demystify the essence of our struggle. We have remained on the same spot of failed promises and deceit from the government.
Similarly, the Kwara State University branch also appealed to education stakeholders to prevail on the federal government to see reason not to ground the education system, wondering why new universities are being approved when old ones are being neglected.
ASU condemns the apparent disinterest of concerned authorities in the lives of our members across campuses. We warn that it will be unfortunate if our union is forced to take complicit actions to demand redress of all these outstanding issues. ASU is not strike mongers. We don't want strike. But by the time we are forced to take actions, in most Nigerian universities, our members are still, 3.5 months of the salaries were still withheld, having completed the curriculum. So all we're canvassing, all we're saying is that the government should immediately pay back our 3.5 months salaries. We have reached out to the government in several occasions. We have written several letters. to those that matters, the lower house of assembly, the upper house of assembly, to the presidency itself. We have consulted even Ribado to that extent to make the government yield to some of our demands, but all to no avail.
The two branches moved around their campuses with various inscriptions saying they do not love or enjoy going on strike, except as a last resort.
The quest to survive the present-day economic meltdown is forcing many young adults to engage in illicit acts to make a living. In Benue State, this is believed to be pushing more underage girls and boys into commercializing their bodies. Jimmy Azande reports that the situation is raising concerns among parents. The report.
Rebranded as hookup, the curse for material things is highlighted as a major reason many go into the business.
We find it difficult to say exactly what could be the problem, because one, for you to say is poverty. You see the children of the rich going into this same behavior, and you begin to wonder whether theirs too is the degree of poverty.
The parents are also blamed for failing in their parental roles.
Youths between the ages of 16 and 17 indulge in prostitution for reasons, sometimes because you see they are grown in homes where the parents don't care about what they go out there and do, and so they could do anything. The parents don't hold them tight, and so that could be one of the reasons parents don't hold them tight. And again, sometimes because they need to get this and that, they see a friend look nice, and so they want to be nice too.
Some say the society is demanding too much from the young folks, which is why many resort to everything necessary to earn money.
And the society too is encouraging. If you go to the university, the lecturers are demanding money from this student, and they have to go into prostitution to get money to come and pay in order to pass exam. If you go to the church, the church is money, and without money, you are as good as nobody in the church. And it's making the youth to dance according to the tune of the present drum.
To minimize the menace, residents are saying the government can play a vital role.
The government itself does not even set up a standard. So they felt these things are okay. I felt we should go back to our various cultural values and revive it to a standard that our youth should start going back to them over it.
Either way, the risk associated with the business leaves much to be desired, as these young folks have continued to fall prey to vicious ritualists in recent times who kill and harvest body parts. Jimmy Azande, Trust TV News, Makurdi.
The Debt Management Office DMO on Wednesday clarified that Nigeria's fresh borrowing was 7.71 trillion naira in the first quarter of 2024. It explained that the fresh borrowing includes 2.81 trillion as part of the new domestic borrowing of 6.06 trillion naira provided in the 2024 Appropriation Act and 4.90 trillion naira as part of the securitization of the 7.3 trillion naira Ways and Means advances approved by the National Assembly. The DMO made the clarification in the statement titled Explaining the Q1 2024 Public Debt Data, saying the 24.33 trillion naira increase in the total debt was a result of a combination of fresh borrowing and naira devaluation. The DMO noted that the exchange rate shifted from 899.39 to the dollar in Q4 2023 to 1,330.26 to the dollar in Q1 2024, which represents a depreciation of 32.39, causing the naira to rise sharply. The actual dollar-denominated debt remaining relatively stable. As at Q1 2024, the total debt profile in naira terms stood at 121.67 trillion naira, up from 97.34 trillion in the fourth quarter of 2023. Away from Nigeria, hundreds of protesters gathered in Kenya's capital, Nairobi, on Thursday, with police firing rubber bullets and tear gas at turnout by demonstrators dropped sharply following deadly clashes earlier this week. A day after President William Ruto caved in to demands by young protesters to withdraw a deeply unpopular tax hike bill, small groups of demonstrators took to the streets calling for the Kenyan leader's removal. The scattered crowds, numbering a few hundred at the scene, made their way to Nairobi's business district as soldiers were deployed and police in anti-riot gear blocked access along roads leading to Ruto's office at State House and Parliament. Isolated scuffles broke out between some stone-throwing demonstrators and officers who fired rubber bullets and tear gas, arresting at least 7 people. After unprecedented scenes broadcast live saw Parliament ransacked on Tuesday with police opening fire on protesters, Ruto made a surprise U-turn on the tax hikes and called for dialogue with young Kenyans. Hundreds of protesters also rallied in the port city of Mombasa as well as Kisumu. And with that, we've come to the end of the news on Trust TV. Do remember, you can follow us across all our social media platforms and also join us on our YouTube live stream for more news programs and documentaries. Many thanks for watching. I am Shegun Ojumu. Have a great evening. Bye-bye.